If you find yourself having to do a Google search every time you need to know a different tuning for a particular song, or have simply never experimented with anything outside of standard tuning, then this video is for you. In this lesson, I will be breaking down the most common alternate, open, and drop tunings for guitar, and explaining how to work them out for yourself. We should probably start with the one that everyone most likely already knows, this being drop D. As the name suggests, this refers to our low E string being dropped or lowered to a D note. Not much to work out here, but it gives us a starting point. Never Going Back Again by Fleetwood Mac and Everlong by the Foo Fighters are both good examples of drop D. As a general rule, the lower the drop tuning, the heavier the music and the bands you might find using them. So metal and all of its subgenres are synonymous with drop tunings. Once you go anything lower than drop D, you have to change the tuning for all of your guitar strings. The first step, as you might expect, is to tune the low E string down to C. The second step is to tune your D string to match this. And most importantly, take note of how much you down tune this string to arrive at C. In this case, D to C is a distance of 2 half steps, or you could call it 1 whole step. Then tune the remaining strings down by the same amount, giving us a drop C tuning. This is the same method for all drop tunings. So for example, if you wanted to get into drop B, then you would drop the low E to a B, and then the D string down to match. And as we had to tune this string down by 3 half steps, then the remaining strings would also go down by this same amount. Double drop tunings work particularly well on acoustic guitar. Famous songs that take advantage of this tuning include The Chain by Fleetwood Mac and Going to California by Led Zeppelin. The rules for double drop tunings are the same as drop tunings, but you would also drop the high E string to match the E and D strings. So in the case of double drop D, this would mean dropping the low E string to a D, giving us a regular drop D tuning, but then also dropping the high E string to match. So DAD, GBD. Open tunings refer to any tuning where you tune your standard strings to the sound of an open chord. A popular open tuning amongst guitarists to begin with is open G, most notably used by the Rolling Stones' Keith Richards to write Brown Sugar and Honky Tonk Woman, amongst many others, although Keith would usually remove his lowest string altogether, leaving him with a 5-string guitar. To tune to open G, you simply need to know the notes in a simple G triad, these being G, B, and D. And now simply down tune each string until you end up with this combination of notes. So we can tune down the E string until we get to a D. The A string is tuned down a whole step, giving us a G. The D, G, and B strings don't need to move. And finally, the high E string, which would be tuned down to a D, leaving you with a G chord when you strum all the open strings. Open A tuning has been used by the likes of Jimmy Page on Led Zeppelin's In My Time of Dying, Jack White on the White Stripes' Seven Nation Army, but more notably for me at least, by Robert Johnson on songs such as Crossroad Blues and Come On In My Kitchen. This tuning is very easy to work out, as you simply need to tune to the same notes as an open A chord, this being E, A, C sharp, E. So simply tune your D, G, and B strings up by a whole step, and now you have an A chord when strumming all the open strings. A great example of open D is Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi, in which she takes full advantage of the tuning to play complete major chords with one barred finger, albeit with a capo on fret 2, which would essentially make this an open E tuning. To arrive at an open D tuning, you simply need to reference the notes in a D major triad, this being D, F sharp, and A. So E would tune down to a D, the A and D strings remain the same, G can be tuned down a half step to F sharp, and the B and E strings down 1 whole step to A and D. Derek Trucks, who like his mentor before him, Duane Allman, both tuned to open E to play some of the best slide guitar you will ever hear, with Derek Trucks using this tuning exclusively. Keith Richards also used this tuning for Jumpin' Jack Flash and Gimme Shelter, and Bob Dylan liked this tuning so much he wrote his entire Blood on the Tracks album using only this tuning. Much like the open A tuning, you simply need to tune the strings to match the notes of an open E chord, this being E, B, E, G sharp, B, E. So simply tune your A and D strings up a whole step to B and E, and your G string up a half step to G sharp. This tuning can place a lot of extra strain on the neck of the guitar, and you can risk breaking strings by tuning up this high. So it's not uncommon for guitarists to tune to open D with a capo on the 2nd fret, much like our previous example of Joni Mitchell's Big Yellow Taxi. DADGAD is one of those tunings that needs no explanation, as the name already reveals the notes that you need to tune to. So simply drop both E strings to D and the B string down to an A. There is a noticeable absence of the major 3rd interval or F sharp note in this tuning. However, in its place we now have a G note, which is a 4th, resulting in a D sus4 chord. This is often referred to as the Celtic tuning, as it's used most commonly by traditional folk and Celtic guitarists, such as Tony McManus. However, as this is also a very popular tuning in the wider guitar community, you can hear examples across the board, ranging from guitarists as diverse as Andy McKee to Ed Sheeran. But the most famous example has to be Kashmir by Led Zeppelin. Alternate tunings can breathe new life into your guitar, especially if you're feeling particularly uninspired, so I would encourage you to pick a tuning from this list and explore the new sounds you can produce that would otherwise be unobtainable in standard tuning. Let me know your favourite guitar tunings in the comments and feel free to give this video a like, and I'll see you in the next one.